There are moments in love when silence would hurt less than words. Because words, real, deliberate words, can dismantle everything you built. Not by shouting. Not by cruelty. But by revealing what was always hiding underneath the sweetness. Some phrases don't just end arguments. They end respect. They end trust. They end the illusion that love is still alive. And once you hear them, you can't unhear them. They echo. They burn. They replay in your head at night like the sound of glass cracking, slow, sharp, irreversible. Today we're talking about the phrases women say that men should never forgive. Because these aren't slips of emotion. They're confessions, disguised as conversation. Tiny sentences that expose entire belief systems. And if you don't recognize them for what they are, you'll spend years apologizing for things that were never your fault. Let's begin with the first one. Phrase 1, you owe me. It's short, simple, and poisonous. It enters softly, like guilt-wearing perfume. You owe me. Not, can you help me? Not, could you support me? But you owe me. That's the moment love becomes a transaction. Where affection turns into currency. And your heart becomes an open tab that never closes. This phrase rewrites the rules of love. It tells you that your worth is measured by what you give, not by who you are. It doesn't matter how kind, loyal, or faithful you've been. To her, you're only valuable when you're useful. You owe me because I had your kids. You owe me because I stayed. You owe me because I put up with you. Hear that pattern? It's not love. It's a ledger. And you'll always be in debt. She'll use your guilt as fuel, reminding you how much she's done for you, how much you owe. And no matter how much you pay, it's never enough. Because entitlement has no ceiling. When someone says, you owe me, what they're really saying is, your love doesn't matter. Your presence doesn't matter. Only your service does. It's emotional blackmail disguised as partnership. And it's one of the fastest ways a man loses his spirit. Not because he stops loving her, but because he starts believing he'll never measure up. Phrase 2, I don't owe you anything. At first, it sounds powerful, independent. But in a relationship, that sentence is a death wish. Because it's not about self-respect. It's about dismissal. It's not, I need space. It's, you don't matter. You say, I don't feel comfortable when you talk to your ex. She says, I don't owe you anything. You say, can we talk before making big decisions? She says, you're not my boss. She's not protecting boundaries. She's building walls. This phrase kills connection in silence. Because love requires accountability, and this statement erases it completely. It's the declaration of someone who wants your loyalty without offering any back. She'll demand your effort, your time, your sacrifice. But the second you ask for mutual respect, you'll be told you're controlling. She gets freedom. You get fear. What she's really saying is, I want all the benefits of love, without any of its responsibilities. And that's not independence. That's selfishness wearing empowerment like a costume. Because true strength in love isn't saying, I owe you nothing. It's saying, I choose to give, because you're worth it. When these two phrases appear, the relationship's already cracking. One builds control. The other destroys accountability. Together, they form the beginning of emotional rot, where love turns into trade and connection turns into performance. And the saddest part? Most men don't leave when they hear them. They stay, hoping to earn back respect that's already been sold. The most dangerous thing a woman can say isn't shouted in anger. It's whispered with calm conviction, said like it's a fact. That's what makes it lethal. Because once a belief becomes a weapon, no amount of kindness can disarm it. And that's exactly what happens with the next phrase, the one that quietly breaks men from the inside out. Phrase 3, all men are the same. You've heard it before. Sometimes as a joke. Sometimes through tears. But make no mistake, that sentence isn't just a complaint. It's a verdict. When she says it, she's not talking about other men. She's talking about you. She's putting you in a box built from her past, sealing it shut and labeling it with her pain. You stop being an individual. You become an exhibit, evidence in her museum of disappointment. She'll tell herself she's protecting her heart, but in truth, she's punishing you for crimes you never committed. And no matter what you do, how gentle, how patient, how loyal, she'll always be waiting for you to fail so she can whisper, see, I knew it. It's not about truth. It's about prophecy. Because the moment she says, all men are the same, she creates the very outcome she fears. She'll test you, provoke you, question your intentions until exhaustion becomes resentment. And when you finally push back, she'll smile, victorious in her misery. I told you. You're just like the rest. That's the trap. You lose no matter what. Be strong, you're cold. Be emotional, you're weak. Be successful, you're arrogant. Struggle, you're a failure. This phrase isn't a statement. It's a cage. And the worst part? It doesn't just destroy men. It destroys her too. Because if all men are the same, she's already decided love is impossible, and every relationship becomes just a countdown to disappointment. You can't heal someone who's addicted to being the victim. You can only walk away before her war with the world turns into a war with you. Phrase 4, I'm just a woman. Sounds innocent, even sweet. But when used the wrong way, it's the ultimate manipulation. Because, I'm just a woman doesn't mean, I'm human. It means, I refuse to be accountable. It's the line that turns immaturity into identity. The adult version of a child saying, I didn't know better. She'll say it after breaking promises, starting fights, spending money you didn't have, crossing lines she swore she wouldn't. And when you call her out, when you finally ask for the same accountability you hold yourself to, she'll tilt her head, soften her tone, and say, you know how we are. I'm just emotional. I'm just a woman. Suddenly the whole conversation shifts. You go from being the hurt one to being the bad guy, the cold man who doesn't understand emotions. And just like that, logic loses to tears and boundaries dissolve under guilt. It's a masterclass in weaponized helplessness. Because she's not actually helpless, she's strategic. She's strong when it benefits her, fragile when it saves her, and somehow never responsible when it costs you. She'll forget the things she promised. I'm just bad with memory. She'll attack you with words. You know I didn't mean it, I was just upset. She'll drain your savings. I don't understand money like you do. And while you're standing there trying to be understanding, she's rewriting the rules of accountability right in front of you. Every mistake becomes a symptom, never a choice. Every apology becomes optional. The cruel irony? The same woman who says, I'm just a woman, will call you weak for showing emotion. She wants the comfort of being fragile, while demanding the respect of being strong. It's not equality she wants. It's immunity. And when you call her out, you'll be told you're attacking her gender, not her behavior. Because nothing shields manipulation better than pretending it's nature. These two phrases, all men are the same, and I'm just a woman, form a toxic mirror. One justifies her distrust. The other justifies her irresponsibility. Together they make love impossible. Because how can you build a future with someone who refuses to see your humanity, while excusing their own flaws as destiny? You can't. You can only watch the mask slip, and realize the person who claimed to love you never wanted a partner. They wanted a villain to blame and a victim to be. By the time these next two phrases appear, something sacred has already died. The respect that once held the relationship together has been replaced by quiet domination. The kind that doesn't need shouting because it hides behind the word love. These are the phrases that manipulate your loyalty, your guilt, and your fear of losing her. They don't just break trust, they train you to abandon yourself. Phrase 5, if you loved me you would. It sounds emotional, vulnerable, almost innocent. But it's one of the most dangerous sentences in a relationship, because it turns love into a weapon. If you loved me you would do this. If you loved me you wouldn't say that. If you loved me you'd give me what I want. At first you think she's just expressing needs. You want to be understanding to show that you care. But what she's really doing is testing your obedience, not your affection. Every time you comply the bar rises. Buy her something once and next time it must be bigger. Apologize for something small, and next time you'll be forced to apologize for things you didn't even do. Give up one boundary and soon you won't have any left. This phrase doesn't measure love, it measures control. Because in her mind, your devotion should always mean sacrifice. And the more you give up for her, the more proof she demands. One man I counseled told me, I gave up my best friend because she said he was a bad influence. Then my family. Then my hobbies. And when there was nothing left of me, she said I'd changed. Of course he had. She'd erased him. That's how emotional blackmail works. It makes you volunteer for your own destruction. You keep trying to prove your love, not realizing that the test was designed for you to fail. Because when someone truly loves you, they don't ask you to destroy yourself to prove it. They ask you to stay yourself. They protect your boundaries, they don't punish you for having them. If you loved me you would, is not a question of love. It's a declaration of power. It says, I decide what love means, and if you don't obey, I'll call it betrayal. And that's not love. That's a contract written in invisible ink, where every signature is signed with guilt. Phrase 6, then just leave. This one comes quietly, after an argument, a disagreement, a moment of tension. She says it fast, almost casually, but every syllable lands like a dagger. If you don't like it, then just leave. It sounds like confidence. Like she's standing her ground. But beneath that tone hides something much darker, contempt. Because love doesn't dare someone to walk away. It tries to understand. It fights for repair. This phrase isn't a sign of strength, it's emotional laziness. Then just leave means, I care more about winning this argument than keeping you in my life. But here's the twist, she doesn't actually want you to go. She wants to see if you'll stay despite the insult. It's a loyalty test disguised as dismissal. She's gambling that you love her enough to tolerate the disrespect. Every time you stay after hearing it, she learns something about you, that your love can be manipulated through fear. And each time you forgive it, the phrase loses its meaning and gains power. It becomes a routine. She says it to end arguments. She says it to silence you. She says it to remind you that she holds the exit door, and you, terrified of losing her, will never walk through it. But the day you do, the day you say, okay, that's when her entire control system collapses. Because she never expected you to call the bluff. Her power was built on your fear of being alone. The moment that fear dies, so does her dominance. That's why this phrase is the final red flag. It's not just cruel, it's prophetic. Because the more she says it, the closer it becomes true. One day you will leave. Not in rage. Not in revenge. But in peace, because you finally realize that staying is self-betrayal. And when you walk away, she'll be shocked. Not because she lost you, but because she never believed you had the strength to leave. These two phrases, if you loved me you would, and then just leave, are emotional warfare disguised as romance. The first traps you with guilt. The second destroys you with indifference. Together, they drain a man's spirit until he's no longer a partner, just a performer, dancing for approval that never comes. Real love doesn't test you. It doesn't punish you for boundaries or weaponize your care. Real love doesn't say, prove it, it says, I see it. By the time those 6 phrases have been spoken, something irreversible happens inside a man. It's not always loud. It's not even visible. But it's there, a quiet switch that flips, turning love into analysis, affection into distance, and devotion into defense. Because a man can survive cheating, shouting, even heartbreak. But he can't survive disrespect disguised as intimacy. Not when it comes from the woman he trusted most. At first he'll still try. He'll reason, explain, apologize for things he never did. He'll tell himself, she doesn't mean it. He'll convince himself it's just stress, hormones, a bad day. He'll hold on, because men are taught that strength means staying. But the truth is those words don't fade. They echo. Every time he looks at her, he hears them again. You owe me. I don't owe you anything. All men are the same. I'm just a woman. If you loved me you would. Then just leave. Each phrase chips away at his self-respect, until one day he realizes he's not in love anymore. He's in survival mode. He starts walking on eggshells, managing her moods like a bomb technician. He hides emotions to avoid conflict. He over-explains his innocence to avoid guilt. And worst of all, he starts doubting his own worth. That's what these phrases do. They don't just attack the relationship. They attack identity. He stops seeing himself as a man who deserves love, and starts seeing himself as a man who must earn it again and again from someone who already decided he's unworthy. That's not love. That's conditioning. There's a special kind of pain that comes from realizing you've been emotionally trained to accept disrespect. It's the moment when he hears her say something cruel, and instead of feeling angry he feels responsible. That's how you know it's gone too far. That's how you know love has turned into captivity. But here's the turning point most men never expect. When you finally walk away, truly walk away, you don't just lose her. You lose the version of yourself that tolerated her. And that's the most powerful loss of all. Because the man who stays in that kind of relationship doesn't even realize he's dying by degrees. The man who leaves? He's reborn. The healing doesn't come from revenge. It doesn't come from making her regret it. It comes from remembering who you were before you started apologizing for existing. At first, the silence will feel strange. You'll miss the chaos, because chaos was routine. You'll feel the urge to text her, to explain one last time, to prove that you weren't the monster she made you out to be. Don't. You don't owe her closure. You owe yourself peace. Closure isn't something she gives you. It's something you create when you stop arguing with the past. And one day, without warning, you'll notice the difference. You'll wake up and realize the weight on your chest is gone. You'll hear her favorite song somewhere, and it won't hurt. You'll walk past a mirror and recognize yourself again. Not the broken, begging man she left, but the calm, confident one who finally learned the difference between love and emotional labor. That's when you'll understand the real lesson. You were never hard to love. You were just loving someone who only knew how to take. So when you hear those phrases again from anyone, don't argue, don't explain, don't beg. Just walk. Because those words don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve distance. Love should never feel like debt. Affection should never feel like compliance. And respect should never be negotiable. The woman who truly loves you will never say, "You owe me." She'll never weaponize your heart to prove her power. She won't test your loyalty, because she'll already feel safe in it. She won't threaten to leave, because she values what she has. In the end, every man who escapes this kind of emotional prison learns the same truth. You don't lose the woman when you leave. You lose the version of yourself that believed you couldn't live without her. And that's not a tragedy, that's liberation. So don't forgive what was meant to destroy you. Don't stay where your love is used as leverage. And never, ever, let someone convince you that loyalty means submission. Because a real man doesn't prove his love by breaking himself in half. He proves it by walking away from anything that demands he do so.